Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of E&Ftv. Today, we are joined by the brilliant Thibault Catala, who is the Managing Director of Catala Consulting. Thibault, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Thomas.
It's a pleasure. Obviously, we know a lot of the same people. We've been in contact times over the years, and it's great to obviously have you on the show.
Yeah, we never met, but we have quite a few friends in common. So yeah, definitely looking forward to the end of the lockdown to be able to meet face to face.
Fantastic. Well, again, same here. We were just saying about sort of finally being able to see people face to face. So a lot of coffees are going to be arranged as soon as we can.
Coffee, no, beers.
Oh, yeah, even better, even better. But no, again, thank you very much for coming on the show. So how we generally like to start it is just to understand a bit more about you, your background, I suppose what brought you to the point where you are now with regards to your own consultancy business. So please do, Thibault, tell us a bit about yourself.
Excellent. All right. So my name is Thibault, French, as you can hear in my accent. And I'm the founder of a revenue management company based in London. And we are looking after different hotels across Europe. So my background, I've studied hospitality management in Switzerland, in Lyon. And right after the graduation, I joined Intercontinental Hotel Groups as a future leaders in the management training. I think you had some of your candidates and applicants in your company as well from the future leaders, some of my friends. And so yeah, I worked with IAG in France, in Portugal. Then I moved to Singapore when I was looking after hotels for Four Seasons Hotel and Resort. I was looking after hotels in China, Japan, and Singapore. And then 2 years ago, I decided to quit everything. You know, most of the time it's the wife following the husband. This time it was actually the husband following the wife. So my wife got a position in UK, so I followed her and I created my own company. And then yeah, we started with 1 hotels and 2s and 3, and then recently we have moved from the contractors and part-timers, and we have hired the first full-time employee. So it was a big milestone for us, and just to keep growing and to keep scaling with a growing portfolio across Europe. So yeah, we are mostly focusing on the outsourced revenue management model, which gives the opportunity to hotels to have their own revenue manager, but with more flexibility and being more affordable. But yeah, that's where we are today.
Fantastic. It's obviously I know that you graduated from Lyon, and I don't know if you're aware, but I guest lecture at Lyon in their London campus. And we have been very proud actually to have talked to a number of the sort of career days, but also actually placed a number of candidates from sort of graduating straight into their first job. So seeing some of the students, you know, from the classroom when I was lecturing them, and then getting them into that professional element is one of the most rewarding things ever. And again, you know, a bit of an inspiration to any of the Lyon students that I am currently guest lecturing. Please do, you know, take some example from Thibault here. So going into obviously a question that is very sort of, I suppose, dear to both our hearts, I guess, is the qualities that you find valuable in a revenue manager. Of course, these can massively vary, and they do change over the years. They have changed over the years. Yes. But I suppose, what do you think the fundamental qualities are of a revenue manager? But also, I suppose, with that, what do you think the skill set requirement will be in a post-pandemic market?
Sure, 100%. I think it's a very interesting question, and as well, you refer back to they call it a tweet storm that we have pinned on our Twitter account, where we have done like all the criteria of being a good revenue manager. So you can check on the Twitter account. But for me, the number one skill to be successful as a revenue manager pre, post, during the pandemic is definitely to remain agile and remaining like being able to adapt to new circumstances and new situation, to try new things, to see what is working, to experiment, because no one has no idea what's going on and what's going to happen, and all the guests will react in the future. So good revenue manager will be the one to experiment with new system, new approaches, try new things and see what is working. We continue with this. It's not working, then we stop. But remaining agile is the number one skill set to have in the future. Then the number two, I would say, like, as usual, being a team player. because revenue manager is not something that you do yourself. You can have the best revenue manager on property or outsource and so on. But if you don't have the support of the team, if you are not playing as a team, then you will not achieve anything. So to work collaboratively, that's a hard word to say, is definitely a key in revenue management. You need to have strong verbal and visual communication. So you need to articulate correctly your ideas and your strategies, because that's very important in revenue management. I will say being competitive is very important, as you need to drive market share and revenue performance. So you need to be competitive. This one, I like it. You need to be very laser focused, I would say. You need to prioritize your activities to make sure you spend time on what drive results, and not to spread yourself across different activities. I love this the Pareto principle. I'm sure you know this one.
Yeah.
You know, the 80-20.
Yeah.
So 1% is applicable for everything in life, but revenue management as well. And next one, having strong leadership skills, because as a revenue manager, you need to drive the strategy, you need to drive the revenue performance, as well as earn trust of your team directly or indirectly. So leadership skills are very, very important, not only in your department, but across different departments and different level of the organization.
Yes.
And then, influence skills is linked to leadership skills, to make sure your strategy and decision are trusted and you can move forward with your decision. Yeah. The second one, after being agile, which I believe it's definitely key after the pandemic, is to make sure you increase your technical knowledge and be technically savvy. Yeah. You need to be aware of what is in the market. What kind of system is out there, what new startups, new trends. Don't 1% rely on legacy systems anymore. Try with new approaches, new system, see what is working for you, see what is not working, because you will see you can drive a lot of market share by having the right partners and the right systems in your property. So being technically savvy makes total sense. Today, we have seen a huge wave of new digitization in the hotel industry, and good revenue manager will be the one that use the technology to support their day-to-day tactics, and they will leverage to make sure they spend more time on the revenue strategy than on the revenue tactics. Okay. And the last one, I will say, being a critical observer. You need to be a good listener with strong observation skills, able to read situation, able to, again, adapt to new situation and new circumstances. So just need to make sure you observe something, you see what's going on, and then you react accordingly, and you make sure you drive performance. But being a critical observer, I think it's nowadays very important.
Definitely. I think one of the things that I've been quite sort of focused on, I did a workshop with RBH management last year, and the head of revenue basically approached me to say, look, we don't need to teach our guys revenue management. That's not the issue here. They're fantastic at it. But what we're seeing is the need and necessity for that soft skill element, almost that sales and marketing sort of element to sort of step into revenue management, where they're able to build those relationships, negotiate, influence, which is a huge one, and so on and so forth. And I basically ran this workshop with RBH to create that. And then very recently, I did another workshop at an event that was all around soft skills. And I do think in this post-pandemic market that we're going to see, that soft skill element is going to be more important than ever. Because as we know, this whole stopping the silo and getting away from that element, that also comes with that collaborative approach of, well, now we have to work together seamlessly. And the only way we're going to do that is if we have good relationships. If we don't, then it's just not going to happen. And notoriously, and you may not agree with this, but notoriously, revenue managers are seen to not have those skills fundamentally. They've always had the analytical element, but they've always
the geek or anything behind the computer and Excel spreadsheet. Yeah, it's all very strong.
That's what they're known for. But you and I know that that's not necessarily true. I know many revenue managers that have a fantastic personality, yet they're seen as not having that, and it is a shame. But that requirement going forward is going to be huge. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
I agree. I fully agree with you. Something which I keep repeating: good revenue managers on property, you will most of the time you will never see them at the desk. They're always on a run, talking to the sales team, to the reservation, to the front office, to the finance, and so on. Yeah. And most of the time they are not behind their desk. I think it's shifting from the data geek that we used to have as revenue manager, where revenue manager were just crunching data on the Excel spreadsheet, having report for ABC. But now they are more part of driving this revenue culture and making sure they are communicating with all the different departments accordingly. So yeah, I agree. There has been this shift, and this shift is definitely necessary in the next few months to drive market share and to drive performance. I agree.
In terms of the different, I suppose, revenue management structures now. Mm-hmm. Now, of course, obviously, you're well versed in sort of a lot of different areas in terms of where your position has been with regards to the revenue function. Mm-hmm. So in terms of the pros and cons of these different revenue structures, just to give our audience a bit of an idea, what are the structures and what are the pros and cons of them?
Sure. I mean, there are 3 different structures in revenue management that any property can opt in. The first one is actually the most popular pre-pandemic, which was the own property revenue manager. Then you have more centralized revenue management support. And the last one, which is the one we focus on at our company, is revenue management outsourcing. So all of them, they have their pro and their con, as usual. But yeah, some of them are a bit more effective, I would say. So the first one, which is on property, which was again the most popular before the pandemic, I would say the pro of having the on property, it drives total revenue because you are on property, so you can influence each department. You can have daily conversation with different departments, such as F&B, conference and banqueting, kitchen, whatever here, because you are here, so you will be involved in the different conversation. Sure. So you will have this ability to build trust with the team, and you can actually have be more hands-on and promote the revenue culture at different level of the organization, not only at executive level, but at any levels. One thing which I find very interesting on this approach is that many GMs, GM manager, they find this approach to be the most effective, mostly because they believe they have more control in this type of environment. Because if you are next to them, then they can tell you what to do, they can tell you everything and so on, which is true and false, or productive or counterproductive, I don't know. But they feel that it's more efficient because they have more control. Okay. Yeah. One of the cons of having on property revenue manager, I would say you need to hire a con, but that could be as well a benefit. You need to hire an extraordinary talent in your organization because you have one shot, meaning it's a full-time employee and that's the guy that you are going to work with, and that's it. He needs to have, as you mentioned, soft skills and as well hard skills. So the balance is actually hard to find sometimes, but as well he needs to stand ground with the team when necessary, and as well, as we mentioned before, with the skill set, they need to have all these talents listed for this specific individual. Yeah. One of the major cons, it's of course is more costly because you have it goes into the payroll and everything, and it's less flexible. One thing I found as well, it can be sometimes less creative because you are focused on only one property, so you don't see what's going on in other property, you don't see what's going on in the market, you don't see what's going on in the startup world or innovations. So that could be one of the. Again, I'm not saying it's always the case. I'm just saying as an overall point of view, that's how it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. The next one is more on the centralized revenue management.
Yes.
Which is more applicable for corporates and larger hotel chains. But I would say one of the main benefit and pro of having this kind of structure, it's you can recruit talent with a higher level of expertise because you are based at the headquarters of let's say Hilton, IAG, Marriott, as they are quite famous for the structure and centralized revenue management. So you can have better standards and processes across different properties. So you make sure the revenue management will be the same in Marriott, Paddington, than in Marriott in Harrogate, I don't know, but you will make sure you have this the same process and same standard across your properties. Yes. Reduce cost because you will share the cost with different properties. That's one of the main benefits. Mm-hmm. Now, when it comes to the centralized revenue management, you may have a lack of camaraderie of friendship because you don't have this kind of day-to-day activity with the team. So it will create kind of a gap between the hotel on property team and the headquarters. so which can create some tension between the two teams, and yeah, tension as well between the corporate and between the team, but as well between the different properties, because everyone will have to compete to get your attention.
Yes.
And the hotel which are more vocal will get more attention. So everyone will start to be vocal to get the attention. You see what I mean?
Right.
So that's on centralized revenue management. And the last one, which I believe, and we have seen it on the last few weeks, few months, which I believe would be the most popular post-pandemic, during the pandemic and as well post-pandemic, is outsourced revenue management. Okay. And this one, it's in terms of pro, you have reduced cost because it's you don't have it doesn't go under the payroll, so you don't have all the costs associated to this. You have more flexibility, specialized expertise, as well as you can as well leverage the network and partnerships that the company has. Okay. Yeah. As well, it benefits the creativity and innovation. As I mentioned, we are aware of what's going on in the tech market, as well as new trend and what's going on in other hotels. So that's very important to drive market share as well in your hotel. Yeah. And there is no recruitment process, because if there is like a one revenue manager and this one is actually sick, we can replace directly with another one without any change or any turnover. Yeah. There is some cons as well from this one, very similar to the centralized revenue management. Sometimes you can have some lack of camaraderie, trust, or teamwork. But I think this one can be solved by having regular face-to-face meeting, I will say, or actually hotel visits. That's very important to build trust and meet the team. And as well, if it cannot be, video calls and so on is very, very important to have regular touch point with the team on a regular basis. And last but not the least, I think it's very important to select the right partner, the right outsource company that you can trust, because you need to make sure the information and resources are not shared with a direct competitor. Yeah. So that's very important when you select your partners. So for us, we have a strict NDA when we start with any new companies, and yeah, we build trust within your partners. That's very important. So yeah, you have these three different models. All of them are great, and I believe revenue management in any cases is great wherever you do it. Even if it's just with a system, it's still a good beginning. But yeah, that's the current landscape.
No, I was going to say it's always interesting to hear them broken down almost, into their sort of secular elements. The interesting one about the outsourced sort of element that you came onto at the end is that so the smaller properties, the single properties or independents, they'll almost get the benefit of the larger corporates, because, as you say, if somebody's off, somebody can come in. Right. If they also have the multi-brand, but also multi-environment sort of understanding. So they'll be able to deal with properties with different complexities, different offerings, different size, and so on. But they can come at it from a very open and holistic point of view, I suppose, understanding exactly what the customer or the client needs. So the outsourced element, I hadn't actually thought about it before this chat today, but it actually makes a lot of sense as to why post-pandemic it could be the answer, or could be the way to go. That's actually quite interesting. As I said, we've not even spoken about that before, but I actually think you've got a point.
I mean, for me, it's exactly what you mentioned. That's also one of the why behind I created or my company is mostly because I wanted to have this kind of expertise and specialized knowledge in revenue management open to independent and the smaller properties, because you realize that those kind of practices of revenue management are sometimes reserved to large hotel chains such as Four Seasons, Marriott, Hilton, IAG, Accor, and so on. But the small guys, which are actually the owner slash GM slash a kitchen chef or whatever, they're doing everything. They are surviving and like, believe me, they are doing everything they can to survive day in and day out. And those guys, they don't even know about revenue management. And for me, even if it's tougher, because we need to spend a lot of time on education, but the added value that those property can have by applying those revenue management ABC or the things that which were applicable for largest chain is huge. And that's what we are motivated by, I believe.
No, definitely. And again, it's just one of these things where as long as the outsourced businesses are able to provide, one, of course, a good service, don't get me wrong, their obviously expertise are there, but they're able to build that relationship. Because as we said, that's so important. And for an outsourced business to come in with no prior relationship, for a lot of, I'm just trying to think, one of the biggest issues for a larger corporate is their relationships between their centralized revenue management teams and their GMs and their operational managers. It just is. It's the constant butting of heads. And I can imagine that with the outsourced element, coming at it from that sort of space, I can imagine it's still, there's a difficulty there, don't get me wrong. I can imagine it's a lot less because you guys are coming in. One, you've signed a contract, so you've got that relationship nailed, that's done. Then it's just the ongoing relationship, which almost falls into place if you're good at what you do. If you deliver, then of course the relationship will go well.
I agree.
It's just, as I say, it's just an interesting one because I've not broken down the different structures before. And for the channel, I think for anybody watching, I think it'll be very valuable. In terms of sort of from your perspective, and a sort of a topic that has been widely talked about more recently, actually, is the F&B element. So the revenue management of F&B. And I'd be really interested to understand from your perspective what your thoughts are on this focus.
Sure. I mean, for me, F&B revenue management is one of my favorite topics in revenue management. It's kind of my hidden skills in revenue management and one of my favorites because I believe there's so much opportunity to develop and it's so undervalued and underdeveloped at the moment. But the ROI just in investing in an ABC of F&B revenue management are at the moment huge. You can drive market share from day two just by focusing on F&B revenue management. So to answer your question in terms of development of F&B revenue management, I didn't see much, to be frank, in the market, but I believe it's coming. I believe it's coming. Again, this focus on total revenue management and total revenue. I think it's one, and F&B is definitely one of the key elements of the optimization. For example, on our side, we have been helping some hotels with the F&B revenue management and as well profitability. And one of our recent case study, it's a hotel in Japan, and we have helped them in a matter of a few months to shift from 0.5% profitability in their restaurant to almost 10%. Which is a huge increase considering that the time frame that we had. But again, it's only ABC that we have applied, such as menu engineering or the prime cost optimizations, or such as what else do we do? We have done some training with the team about the upsells to make sure people know to upsell at restaurants. Introducing the RevPAS, the revenue per available seat hour, as a main KPI to understand the speed as well as the capacity element in the restaurant. So for me, F&B revenue management, it's a huge opportunity for any business. But again, I believe we have so much work to be done in hotel rooms revenue management still, because we still believe that revenue management in the rooms is normal. But I think it was on a Skift report recently, a few years ago, they were saying like 80 or 90% of hotels worldwide don't have a revenue management system in place. And most of people actually don't know about revenue management. So we cannot ask them to then move to F&B revenue management now. There's still a long way to go. But yeah, for sure, there is a big opportunity in F&B revenue management. Ourselves, we have also been able, we are looking to develop some methodology to optimize in F&B as well, some software. I believe there is a big element of tech which is missing in F&B revenue management, like an ideas for F&B. You have dynamic pricing, which is coming, which is a big topic in F&B. You have demand forecast in F&B, which is missing. So many things. We can talk about this one for a full day if you want.
Well, it's interesting because I remember having a conversation with one of my clients. 2.5 years ago, about 2.5 years ago. And that was the first time I'd ever heard that they basically wanted to look for a specific individual to focus on revenue management, or the dynamic pricing element going into revenue management anyway, for their F&B element. And it was a very interesting conversation because I like probably many others, were sort of like, how the hell's that going to work? And you know, I remember him saying, you know, it's going to be a headache, but it's going to be the way to go. I can
1%. Yeah.
And it
What
was
do you feel about? Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you feel about some? Sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead, please.
No, what do you feel about some having a different price for your coffee depending on the time of the day you order? No. I think people are not ready for this yet.
No, this is it, and it's that culture of, and don't get me wrong, you're right, it is going to happen because we're getting to that point where everything is going to be optimized. I mean, just from tuning into, I don't know if you've been watching, but Revenue Hacks. So the host over at Revenue Hacks. That's again, hello ladies, if you're watching. But they had an episode not long ago, which was all around meetings and events. How are we optimizing the space? Are we doing it by square foot? Are we doing it by person? And weirdly enough, about 2 or 3 months prior, I had a conversation with the very well-established Heather Hart. And Heather Hart is probably the person to talk to in terms of M&E revenue management. If you've ever heard her talk, she's incredibly passionate about it.
She's
not only knowledgeable. And that was a massive eye-opener for me. And that's where I think that F&B element's going to go, is we're going to have these professionals like yourself that will be pioneering it. And ultimately, it will be optimized. It's inevitable. It's just as and when it happens. And as I said, there's going to be a few headaches from the commercial point of view, but it will happen.
I think it will. And I agree with you. Like recently, I was working on LinkedIn for the jobs opening in revenue management and so on. And that's the first year where I see some F&B revenue managers, like Hotel Cost in Paris, were looking for someone specialized in F&B, or I think it was Plaza Athénée in F&B. I'm not sure about this one, but again, people are hiring for this specific department, which is F&B optimization. I think it's a big step forward.
Definitely, I could not agree more. So coming on to, I suppose, you and the business specifically, what's been happening with you guys? Obviously, during the pandemic and so on. I mean, it'd be really interesting to understand a bit about what's happening with you guys.
Sure. I mean, for us, we continue to focus on the outsourced revenue management, finding some new creative ideas to generate revenue nowadays, which sometimes can be complicated with an hotel close, but not impossible, I can tell you. So we have been helping our portfolio of hotels across Europe to remain open, to close, and we have been shifting as well our gears from revenue optimization to profitability optimization. I believe that's one of the key shifts we are seeing in revenue management as well. And for us, we have as well focused on developing an online course covering the revenue management fundamentals. So stay tuned. That's something we're going to release by Christmas on New Year's Eve, covering the fundamentals. I believe there is still a big part of education in revenue management, which is not missing, but there's a gap. And I believe we still need to continue educating the current hotels, but as well as the new generation, new graduates, new hotels, and to make sure we still find some new talents in this field because it's an amazing department, an amazing field to be in with so many opportunities. And that's what I want to share as a message to new graduate or potential new graduate, or even my daughter that maybe she will want to go to revenue management. Definitely so many opportunities. So that's why I also want to be part of this education. With wherever we can, and if people are okay with my French accent, they can find me on the online course in the next few weeks.
Fantastic. Well, what I'll do, because this episode will be going out in a few weeks' time, so what I'll do, if we're at that stage, I'll put the link in the description below. Excellent. So everybody who is watching this episode, please do check out that link below for the course if it is available. Of course, as well, I think your point about education is massively important, and it's something that anybody that sat in a room with me for longer than 5 minutes will know that I'm incredibly passionate about it. I do think that we as an industry, and we more specifically as a market, the revenue management market, have to and need to do more to gain awareness, so raise awareness within the universities and colleges and so on. But we also need to do our part as ambassadors for our industry to bring people in, and that starts with that education piece. And I commend you for creating something like this, because I honestly, I'm very passionate about it. I think we need more people like yourself. But no, if we do have that course, and I'll put the link in the description below, and I'll also obviously put your details in there as well. But So, well, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule. I know, obviously, how busy you are at the moment. So thank you so much for joining us.
Cool, but thanks for me, Thomas. I very much enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And guys, don't forget to check out who's on next week's episode now.